welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button on the way in. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for always tuning in. And in today's video, we're going to get a little deep. This is one of those ones that I was talking about that we're going to get a little deeper. So get ready. This video is titled, "Is Your Boyfriend More Important Than God?" And you may be wondering, what kind of title is that? What is she even talking about? What does this even mean? Let's get into it. So I'm going to start actually by telling you all a little bit about my personal story, okay? So back in, let's say about 2012-ish, right? I had this really good boyfriend, and you know, at the time we only had I only had 2 kids, and he and I got together. I think we started dating in 2012, and we broke up in like early 2015. However, during the relationship, we were sexually active, and eventually I started to have like this feeling, or more so recognize this voice that was talking to me about living my life like that. Like I said, I already had 2 kids and partners. So it was just like normal to me, even though I had been, you know, aware already that you shouldn't be practicing sex before marriage. It still felt normal, and that's just the way that I was living at the time. Okay, but as I said, this voice was coming. It was like almost after every time that me and my ex were together, it's like afterwards I would just hear this voice like, when are you going to stop? When are you going to stop? Like, you know, this isn't right. When are you going to stop? And when I say that voice continued and continued and continued, initially it was just something that I could just like brush off, but eventually it became something that I could not ignore. It was very loud. It was very prevalent. It was there, and it was basically like time for me to make some serious decisions, right? So I think it was like one weekend, I had some family come over, and they had stayed the night at my house. And out of the blue, they just came out of the blue and told me that they were not sexually active. And they were like, "Are you and your boyfriend going to stop?" And I kind of was so thrown off by the question, because that person had never asked me anything like that before. We had never even really had like discussions like that about that topic. And I don't remember exactly what I had said, but it was like confirmation for me. It was like God had used that individual to kind of like call me out, like, because I was ignoring the voice, and while I may have been thinking on it a little bit, it wasn't really enough to make me make a decision just yet. So when that person said that to me that day, it was just like, it was shocking, but like I said, I knew that it was my confirmation, like to really stop and think. And then I started thinking, well, first thing I think that came to my mind was, how is this relationship going to work after that? Like, we all know that men love the act. I'm trying to be careful because I don't know what words it's okay to use on this platform. I don't know. I think I might be okay. But yeah, men love the act, and like to just up and take it from the relationship when that was what we were already used to was kind of like something that I was thinking about. Like, that's what we were already doing. This person's already used to that. I'm already used to that with this person. I was okay with being obedient to that though, but I think I was more so worried about like, would my partner be okay with that? Would my partner still want to be with me? Would my partner remain faithful to me? Like, I had a bunch of questions going through my mind, because you thinking at the time I probably was like 25, 26 or so, and young, you know, you thinking like, oh, is this still gonna work? What is he gonna do? Is he gonna go cheat or stuff like that? It became a question like, who is more important? Is it what God wants you to do, or is it what your boyfriend wants, or what you think your relationship needs? You know, So I think I sat with myself. I really sat with myself for a couple of days. And me and my ex were really close. We were always together. While he was at work, we was on the phone. When he would get off, we would still be on the phone to ride home. Or he would come straight to my house. Like we were just always together. So it's like, wow, this is going to be like a really weird transition, you know. But I sat with myself and I thought about it and I said, well, you know what? I'm tired of this voice being in my head, like telling me to get a grip of myself, to change my ways. So I'm going to just do it. Like, I just want the noise to stop. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool. If I gotta stop this so that I can stop hearing this in my head, then cool. I'm just gonna talk to him, and we gonna have to figure something out. So I remember having that conversation with him, and he seemed okay with it. But I remember us talking, and he was like, well, why is it so bad though? It ain't like we doing it with any and everybody. It's just us. And why is it a problem? And I'm like, well, because we're not married, you know. So it's an issue to God, because clearly he's in my head every day. He's talking to me every day about this. So this is clearly an issue for him. And this is something that he's speaking to me about. And I'm sorry, I just can't ignore this voice anymore. You know, so he was just like, all right, I'm cool with it, whatever. And initially I thought, okay, yeah, he's the best boyfriend ever. He, you know what I mean? He's okay with the transition. I'm thinking that we gonna get married soon. I'm thinking he thinking to himself, well, ain't no way I can live without that no more. So I'm gonna just go and get her a ring. He did not do it like quickly like I thought that he was going to do, right? And this wasn't me like trying to get him to marry me or anything either. It was just like I said, the voice of the Lord was speaking to me, and there was no way that I could continuously ignore it. But I was thinking like, okay, yeah, he gonna go and do what he gotta do. Right? So some time goes by and we start to like argue more. We've never really had major arguments, but it was just always like this little bickering and fussing and stuff like that. So as time went by, you know, I'm trying to figure out what's the problem, what's up, why we always at it now. And it's like, he was just kind of angry about the change. I think it was getting old, and in his head, he had had it where he felt like he had to get married at 30. At the time I was like 25, maybe 26, and he was a year younger than me. So I would have to wait 5 years for him to decide that he wanted to marry me. That's just like, I guess, I don't know if that's what he was taught or whatever. He knew he wanted to marry me, but he felt like he had to do it when he was 30. I don't know why that was his number, but it just was. And it caused the issue. It really caused the issue. So years and months still go by. We're not active with each other. And but you know, we're still in relationships, so we trying to find ways around it and stuff like that to still kind of keep some type of affection there. However, one day, in the middle of us cuddling one day or something, we ended up slipping up, and it had been like probably like a year. I don't know if it was a full year yet, but it was a long time since we had been active. So we ended up slipping up this one day, and then after that, he took us out to eat. So he took me and the kids out to eat, and we came home, and I think we slipped up again that night, and then in the morning or something. And later on that day, he attempted to be active again, right? And I was like, no, I don't want you to think that because we had that slip up that we going to continue on like this. So I think that's exactly what he was thinking, that we was going to just keep on going because of that moment. And that wasn't what I wanted to do. And I remember we got into this really big argument because it was just like a lack of understanding there. I think this person was forgetting that the whole point of us stopping was to honor God, respect God, and to not live a life in fornication. And if we had this slip up way down the line, like months, almost probably a year in, why would you think that I would just want to continue on instead of getting myself back right, you know? So that's when I knew that that person didn't have it all together in that area. It wasn't really something that they wanted to do for that reason. It was more so because I said it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, I want to live like that for God too. I'm trying to honor God with my life and my body as well. It's more so I'm going to do it because that's my girl and I don't want to lose her. So I'm going to just stick around. But at the same time, I'm going to bicker and moan and I'm going to carry on and be mad when I can't have what I want to have. So with that being said, eventually, probably like 3 months later, we ended up breaking up because it was just like all these little arguments and bickering and carrying on. And we ended up breaking up. We was apart for probably like 4 or 5 months. And he randomly called me like months later, like trying to talk about the situation. And I just wasn't even like trying to hear it. At that point, I was like already like so down in my mind and my thinking, in my Christian journey, making sure that I wasn't living a life of fornication anymore. Like I just didn't even want to hear it. So I was kind of rude, which I kind of regret that I did that. I kind of wish that I had talked to see what he was going to say. But I'm pretty sure it was probably like to try to like maybe work things out, get back together, whatever. But I think I remained abstinent for about 3 years, and then I met somebody else about 3 years later, and messed myself up again, had a couple of kids, whatever. However, I have since come back to grips with myself. Okay, I've come back to grips with myself and have decided to live a fornication-free life for the past maybe like 18 months. That is the life that I have chosen to live, and that is what I will continue to live until, by the grace of God, He will strengthen me to keep on going. And that is a life that I want to continue in until my lovely, gorgeous, striking husband comes and sweeps me off my feet. However, I say all this to say, I know that there are many of women who are in relationships with men and they're thinking to themselves that they're grown, they could do whatever they want to do. They don't need the ring. They might be thinking they don't want to get married. They might be thinking, I'm not going to rush him. I'm not going to put stress on him about that. He'll ask me to marry him when he's ready. But all in the while, though, like, which is fine. That's a great way to think, because what woman should be pressing a man out to marry them? Like, who does that? You know, but during that time period of waiting, they're still very much sexually active. They're doing all of the things that would be being done in a marriage, not in a basic relationship, which many of us do. People think that adulthood really means whatever, they could do whatever they want to do. But if you are a Christian, there still is somebody to answer to, right? And many of us disregard what we know we should be doing to do what we want to be doing. And I want to pose a question to y'all today. And that question really is your boyfriend more important than God? Has God been calling you? Has He been talking to you and saying you should change your life? You should stop sleeping with this man. You should stop fornicating. You should stop living your life like you're a married woman. Has He been talking to you? Have you even been open to receive His voice? Have you heard anything that He's been having to say? Or but you're busy running. You're talking to other people to avoid His voice. You're doing what you want to do. You hear His voice, but you just decided, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do because I can. I really think it's time for women to start making a decision on what's more important. Who's more important? their own life, their own journey. What is it? I do know, honestly, I can think about stories that I have heard, things I personally experienced, things like that. A lot of times God will definitely render like major punishment when people know the right thing and still do the wrong thing. For instance, think about that story a long time, not really long time ago, but maybe like a few years ago, 3-4 years ago. It was this man who was married, right? And he went to Florida or something. They hink up with these girls, and the girls, it was like for a 3-way or something they was planning to do. And the girls took him back to this hotel room and had guys waiting in the room to shoot and kill him, right? And he thought he was just going to go have a good time. He was going to cheat on his wife a little bit, have a good time. And he went there to lose his life. There are other people, I've heard this story, that I know somebody personally that told me about this. And it was a man who was cheating on his wife. And the lady that he went to go and cheat with, in the middle of them doing the activity, he ended up dying right on top of her, in the act. So when we know that it's the same thing, like when we know the right thing and we go and break a commitment, in that case, they had like a real commitment, like a covenant, like a agreement with God. That's a vow. You know, they took a real vow to God. So I feel like he comes down on the adulterers probably a little bit more because they vowed to him, not necessarily to each other. However, and when they break that vow to him, then it becomes a real dangerous zone, very dangerous zone for them, right? But who's to say that he won't do some punishments the same for people who fornicate? Right? Like, think about it. Some people could go and fornicate unprotected and nothing happens to them, right? But then you got the next girl or guy who goes and does it and they end up with AIDS or HIV right away, herpes, all types of things going wrong with them, things going wrong with in their ovaries and, you know, cancers and ovarian cancer, like stuff like that. Those are curses and punishments from God for doing what you know you shouldn't do. Like when we open the door to sin, we don't get to decide, unfortunately, what type of punishment we get. Some people get worse. Some people, the first time they go and sleep with somebody, they get pregnant at 13, 14 years old. You know, like it just depends on, honestly, what I have learned is like your bloodline, what covenants were there, what things were made. Like, did your family do a little bit of, a little bit of voodoo or something like that? Like, depends on what they were mixing up in it. It depends on how much God is going to cover you, because covenants can't be broken. If you made an agreement with the devil on something, don't expect God to come break that covenant for you unless you prayed and asked for it to be broken, and did the work for it to be broken, So it's like, you mix and dibble and dabble in these things. When you go and you open up the door to sin, like I said, you cannot decide or tell God, okay, God, I fornicated today. Make sure I don't get a disease. Or make sure, this and that happen. You don't know what's going to come when you open up the door to sin. So we might feel like we're doing it today. We're good. We're straight. Ain't nothing going wrong with us. Or we're looking at our friends. We're seeing our friends is living a life of fornication and nothing bad is happening to them. Or their boyfriend might propose in a year. So we think, oh, okay, we could just keep on going too. And maybe ours will propose next year or this and that. But that's not necessarily the case. Everybody's situation is different. Maybe her situation with her family, her bloodline, things that are in the spiritual realm for them, she didn't get a punishment, and she can give God her praise for that. But you, on the other hand, you come from something different. You don't know what might happen to you. You don't know. So why keep on taking the risk? Why keep on taking the risk? I know I had somebody personally tell me one time, oh, well, my man treat me like garbage, but you know how you hear those stories about how things wasn't good in a relationship for the first 5 to 10 years. And then by year 15, he got it right. Like, who wants to sit through that? Who wants to sit through? And it ain't even like it's a marriage. It's just a relationship. You have a problem. You have a soul tie. You have made an idol out of your dude to the point where you can't even let him go, no matter how bad he treats you. That's really what it equates to. You have a soul tie, like a over commitment to somebody who has gave you no commitment. You know, so when I really think about it, it is a very dangerous game. I pray that God gives me the strength to never go back into that lifestyle again. I have valued myself, and furthermore, value God more than any dude or anything that I could ever really be in. Thankfully for me, the only thing I've ever gotten from my life of fornicating was children, you know. However, it could have been a lot. It could have been a lot worse. I'm glad that I didn't get my womb, or my womb didn't get attacked, and I ended up with cancer in my womb, and just the things that I hear from people. And people sometimes will get offended when you tell them, it's if you say to somebody that say they got like what is it, ovarian cancer, or something like that. If they say, oh, they got HIV or something, and you say to them, oh, well, that's a punishment for the lifestyle that you chose to live, they'll get offended and say, oh, well, anybody can end up with this, or anybody, and that's not true. That's not true. There are many things that are issued to us as people for punishment. It's a punishment due to our disobedience and our choices of how we choose to live. So my question to you today is, what do you choose? Who do you choose? Who is more important? Who do you feel like you should honor? Is it your boyfriend or is it God? Can your boyfriend do for you what God can do? Can your boyfriend save your soul? Can your boyfriend heal you of illness? Can your boyfriend provide for you? And he might be able to give you a little bit of money and do something for you. But can he provide what God can provide? Can he save your soul? You got to really ask yourself that question. When was the last time you sat your boyfriend down and talked to him about marriage? When was the last time you sat your boyfriend down and talked to him about a real commitment, a covenant to God, a change in your lifestyle? Like, I think a lot of people just get lost in the day-to-day, and it's happy today, so we're just going to keep on going. We're not going to fix what's broken. But I suggest that you do that you sit down, that you have a real conversation about life. Forget about the physical a little bit and tap into some spiritual conversations. See where his head is, and make a decision. Who do you choose? If you call yourself a Christian, these topics matter. This conversation matters for your soul, for your spirit. And if you're not a Christian, I suggest you look into becoming one and start living like one. Because no man, no pleasure, no time of fun, no moments is worth your life or worth your soul. And I highly suggest, highly recommend that these are things that we really start to look into and that we really start to make real decisions for. Because on that day, on Judgment Day, you're not going to be questioned about your boyfriend's sins or your boyfriend's lifestyle. Only yours. But that boyfriend can bring you into the life of sin if you continue to go on with what you're going on with. So ask yourself, what's more important? What's more important? And really, I think that this is something that requires a lot of prayer. Like, even before having the conversation, let God know you've been astray for a while. You've been astray, but you trying to come back. And Ask him to help you find the right words to initiate the conversation, to talk, to give you the wisdom to make the right decision. And once you see what your partner's response is and how he's going with things and what the plan becomes or whatever the case is, then you can decide, is this person for you? God might tell y'all to break up. He might tell y'all this ain't the one for you. You should have never been with him anyway. I don't know why you over here wasting your time with him, because you're just really wasting your time. He's not going to marry you. He can't lead you. A husband is supposed to lead you. A husband is supposed to provide for you, protect you, wash you with the water of the word. If he can't even tell you one Bible verse, he might not be the one for you. Like, marriage is a God thing. It really is a covenant between God. So if a man don't know nothing about marriage or what he's supposed to be as a husband, how can he lead you? If you got a boyfriend, I'm gonna tell you like this, what I learned some years ago when I first started tapping into living more like for the spirit. If a man is trying to sleep with you before y'all are married, that's how you automatically know he ain't the one. And I know that's gonna sound crazy to a lot of people who just don't get it, who haven't tapped into that space yet. But if a man is trying to sleep with you before y'all are married, that's how you know he's not the one. Because the guy that is really for you, the guy that is really there to cover you and honor you and love and respect you in marriage, don't want your body before he commits himself to you. He just doesn't. He's not operating in the flesh. You know, and people think that men like that don't exist. They really do exist. There are men who wait until they become married. They are. And that all kind of depends on upbringing and teaching. A lot of people aren't teaching their children to live like that. It's a thing where the boys get told, which is, listen to this, the boys get told to go sleep around, to get the girls and go sleep with the girls, right? And the girls get told to stay away from the boys and to not sleep with the boys and to keep their legs closed and keep their skirt down and all of that, right? But think about it. When you gassing your son up to go out there and sleep with people, sleep with them girls, that's somebody's daughter that you're putting them onto, right? Somebody that done told their daughter not to do those things, y'all are pushing y'all son out on their daughters. But you got your daughter right in the house and you telling your daughter not to do that. What sense does that make? You got to be telling them the same thing. Because if you're telling the boy to go out there, he's going to go out there and mess somebody's daughter up. And they're trying to tell their daughter to remain a virgin till marriage, or to not, let no boy put her on her back until, she's married. Like, it makes no sense. Unless y'all are encouraging the boy to go out there with another boy, think about it. It makes no sense. You need to be telling your son to wait till he's married as well. That way, it's more of a thought for him. It's more of a common thing for him. The first thing he do when he asks a girl out on a date is not trying to get her in the bed, because he already got that philosophy in his head, that training already in his head. It shouldn't be just telling the boys to go out there and sleep around and then telling the girls to be virgins. It's stupid. It makes no sense. In order for them to remain virgins, the boys got to not want to sleep with them. And I know some people probably gonna be thinking, well, you can't control what your kids do or what. No, you can't control. But if you teach them the right way, they won't really depart from that when they get older. You got it. Even if they do, they always come back to the right space. Trust me on that. They always come back to the right space if they're taught well from the beginning. If they wasn't ever taught, it's only going to be their decision later on in life that gets them on the right path with certain things. If they were never taught, they got to get around the right influence to do that. I saw this guy that I went to school with. He posts about kids staying virgins and stuff a lot, and I will always share his posts on Facebook, because that's the things that people don't tell their kids, and if they do, they only tell the girls that. So, and those posts never really get, you know, a lot of interaction because honestly, it's like people don't want to parent these days. They don't want to tell their kids how to live. They want to be the cool parent. They want to be the fun parent. They don't really want to tell their kids the truth and grow them up in Christ. They don't want to do that. So it's easier to just kind of put them out there in the street and let them figure it out for themselves. They dependent on the dudes out in the street to tell their son how to be. And to me, that is the craziest thing ever. I highly, highly, highly want to stress this fact on this video, that if you are raising a son, raise him with the same morals that you would raise a young lady with. Raise him with the same structure and the same type of conversations that you would have with a daughter. Do not be telling him and putting him out there on the street to go sleep around and be a dog, humping around on whatever he can find, because his soul is at stake for living like that. It really is. We all know what fornication is. It is a sin. Even though many of us act like it don't mean nothing, it's nothing. We can do whatever we want to do, but it is a sin, and nobody should be even if your kids go out and do it on their own, you should not ever be encouraging your kids to do anything that is wrong, anything that is a sin. And one of the things that I noticed in scripture is all sins that we do is an outside thing. It is an outside thing. But fornication is the one thing that we do to sin against our own soul. We are damaging and tearing up our own soul when we fornicate. We are going against our own inner self when we fornicate. That is a biblical fact. So, again, we got to ask ourselves, who is more important? And I'm talking more so to like the women, but this video can apply to men as well. It can apply to men as well. Men can get a grip and figure themselves out and decide, you know what, I don't want to live like this no more. I'm going to go find me a wife before I continue to go on with this. Men can do that too. There's nothing wrong with it. People try to make it seem like men are homosexuals because they want to wait till they get married. I remember I had saw this picture on Facebook years ago, and it was a guy that had a picture of it was a cake, and it was a woman's butt with a G-string up the butt, and it was like virgin at 30 years old or something like that. And I remember I showed it to somebody, and they told me that this guy had to be a homosexual because of the fact that he wanted to live his life right, or was taught to live his life right, and hadn't been sleeping around with people for the past 30 years. So it just lets you know where people head be at. That has nothing to do with anything. The same way the Bible applies to everybody. It don't matter what your gender is. Why would the Bible say, oh, men go sleep around and it won't be considered fornicating, but women sleep around it will be? Like, that's so stupid. We gotta sleep with each other. So why on earth would this man be a homo? Because of the fact that he kept his virginity intact. It's just the stupidest thing ever. And it really just lets you know what people's mindsets are. They really look at women and men as like two different things. Like we're all of the same species. We're just different genders. And the fact that you glorify a man who runs around, but will down talk a woman who runs around, or you hype up men to run around and then tell a woman to sit still, it's just the craziest thing to me ever. It's the craziest thing to me ever. I just want people to stop and think about what I'm saying. Really focus on that. Really focus on that. And more so yourself, because you got to get your own self in order before you can really start teaching your kids how to live, right? And so if you are sleeping around, or you got a boyfriend that you're sleeping with and you're not married, your kids gonna look at you like you're talking a foreign language because you're doing the same thing that you're telling them not to do. So it's like, if you want your kids not to fornicate, you can't be a fornicator. You can't be having some man living up in your house that you're sleeping with and then tell your kids not to become intimate until they get married. You gotta live that life. You gotta live that life. So again, I urge you to ask yourself this question today. And like I said, I'm talking more to the women than I am the men. I'm a woman, so I really address women. But this video can be watched and be impactful for men as well. It just comes a time where you got to stop thinking about what other people want and what other people need and other people's desires, and think about your own self, your own soul, and what's best for you. If you consider yourself a Christian, look over your life. Look over your life. How are you living? What are you doing? Is this the life that honors God? When you go read your Bible, are you living the life that you're supposed to live based on the things in that book? Right? And if you're fornicating, you are not. So I urge you today to really take a look at yourself. Have that conversation with your partner. But first, talk to God, because if this is all new to you, you're definitely going to want to have some guidance, and only He can guide you on that. But just talk to Him. Talk to Him. Wait for a response. Ask for a sign. Ask for, I don't know if everybody has dreams, or I know I have dreams about certain things. Ask for a dream. However you feel like He communicates with you best. Ask for that response back, that communication back, and then go have that conversation with your partner. And go from there. Like I said, it might be a situation where He tells y'all to break up. It might be a situation where your partner loves you so much they just didn't know the right way, and then they might say, "Okay, I don't want to lose you. I want to live right. I want to gather myself and become better in my Christian walk. So I'm going to do what it takes to marry you." Who knows how it can go? The possibilities are many, right? But at the end of the day, I urge you to choose yourself, because you are responsible for you and your spirit, not anybody else's. So I hope this video was impactful in some way. I hope that it opened up your eyes in some way, and I hope that it leads you closer to Christ and to make the proper decision for you. All right, so thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.